Sunday. Sunday was the New Orleans Saints game. Being in a different time zone, these games start at 12 out there if it's a home game, so that was an interesting thing. So getting up early, well, I guess 9, or maybe it was 8 something, but it wasn't a problem. I actually slept pretty well, slept deeply. I think being so tired, I sleep a lot more just deeply, and I had no problem. I was wide awake in the morning, so ready to go. I borrowed a New Orleans Saints shirt and even a belt. I guess I didn't bring a belt for the pants I had. But it was right. I was well prepared for the game. We headed downtown and found a parking garage and just kind of walked through the city. One thing was walking through the casino. I think it was the casino parking, which was interesting. I didn't know they had just regular casinos in Louisiana, but I guess they do. They must have passed a law some time back, probably a long time back, but I'm not up to date on the laws. But it looks like a very nice casino. I think it was a Harrah's? Whatever. No, Caesars. Caesars Casino. No, it was Harrods, and Caesars going to buy the casino. That's it. As you get close to the game center, the Coliseum, the stadium, you see a lot more people kind of crowding in. But it was cool to see the lights or the buildings in downtown New Orleans. There was like people selling beers which is good entrepreneurial spirit. They would like have a little cooler, sell beers for about $5, which is actually a good price compared to the game. In fact, if you think about it, you can get two beers for maybe 3 beers for what you would pay for 1 beer at the game. So that was kind of a cool deal. Now, once inside the stadium, you got kind of an area where everyone congregated before they went. Well, inside the stadium area, there's an outdoor area where people can hang out, and there's like a band playing, some country band, and people talking, and maybe contests, and a lot of people buying food, and just kind of hanging out and celebrating. And at that point, after a while, you actually kind of funnel and start going into the stadium where you go to your seats. And one nice thing is, people are very friendly at the game and social for the most part. You can talk to some ladies who were talking about where they're from, and it was cool to kind of just socialize with people out there, total strangers, but had one big thing in common: they were fans of the team. Now, our seats were really good, paid a little extra money for them, but at some point you just start thinking, well, if I'm going to go at all, I might as well go and enjoy it and be able to see it. I mean, being in the nosebleeds is fine, I think, in the earlier years, but then you just start thinking, I just want to be able to actually see what I'm there to see. Otherwise, why go at all? So our seats were cool because they were right down. They felt like they were in the first row, but I think there was one in front of us that we couldn't even see. But you definitely felt like you were in the first row or the first section to see the game. Kind of cornered off the end zone, so when they come near you, yeah, it's perfect. When they're far away, then not as good. And like most games, there's quite a representation of the opposite team. This one was the Bears, so we're playing against the Bears. And if you think geographically, there's still quite a bit of space for people to actually come down for a game. But either they're local Bears fans or they did come down. But that was kind of cool. The rivalry is not, I think, what it used to be for a lot of games, so I think people get along better. Although there was one kind of rude fan that was, after the Bears had scored first, people were cheering, and he just kind of said, enough. It's like, dude, let people celebrate their team. I mean, that was just uncalled for. It was a very rude thing to do. Didn't represent, I think, most fans, but just to do that at all, because that's kind of can start fights and stuff, and just, nah, dude, sit down, shut up, and you don't have to do that kind of stuff. Let people celebrate if their team gets a victory. It's, kind of frustrating when you don't score, but that's what football's about. An interesting thing is they don't have good signage for the restrooms. At one point, you just passed up restrooms looking for one and went way down, I would say maybe 100 yards to get to a restroom. They don't have a lot of stalls. Some stadiums just go crazy with stalls, and this one's actually kind of limited. I was a little surprised that they just, I don't know, build like that, because some stadiums, you're just like these massive troughs or whatever, but this one is a little more. But then the second time we're coming down, I just decided to I asked someone, when in doubt, asked someone, and she said, just take a turn right there. So it was one right next to us, so there were just no signs. So, in the future, that was just good knowledge. And it was a good game. It was a pretty close game, and the Saints pulled it off, and it kind of felt bad for the others. I always feel bad for the losers, especially a young quarterback trying to do well, but at the end of the day, you kind of want your home team to win, or the team you're rooting for. So that was cool. And then the game was over, and we kind of headed out of the stadium and funneled with the crowd into town. So when I go to games, for me, I never order food. My friend didn't order any food either. So I don't really eat at games, just because overpriced beer is one thing, but I kind of got to draw the line. I'm not having overpriced food. So the first thing was to stop at the Hard Rock Cafe and get some burgers and fries, whatnot. And that was pretty good. The waiter actually was really nice, and just reminded me that if you are in a service industry and you're a nice person, you have a good attitude, it just goes such a long way. I think makes the customer's day, probably makes their day too. So just a good reminder, if you're going to be in the food service, just have a good attitude. At that point, we headed along into the French Quarter, and I had been there before, so it wasn't all new to me. It wasn't wild. I guess it was early, late afternoon, but it was still light, so you didn't have any real craziness. I went to a place and I thought about a beer, but actually I think I got a cup of wine, which is cool because you can actually bring it out in the street and kind of drink along the street. That's a nice little freedom they have there. Just walked along and saw the iconic Bourbon Street shops and buildings, and it's just the architecture that's probably the most impressive thing. Got to the end of the street and just kind of went down the street and then came back on a parallel one that's less crowded. But they have a lot of shops, a lot of cool places of artists like have their galleries there, and that's just something I wouldn't mind checking out more of in the future, just to kind of go into each one and talk to people, see what they do. One person had a shop where they had body painting, but the women were all kind of disguised almost. It was like, where's Waldo for body painting? So you kind of had to it's like an not optical illusion, but an illusion where you had to just identify the person in the picture. Again, like, where's Waldo with beautiful women and body painting. So returning to the main area, we then went to that town square. I had been there before. They got like a person on the horse in the middle and a church, and I think that's kind of, I guess, the heart of it, but it would just look so familiar because I was just there, a year prior. So that was kind of neat to kind of see the same place. And checked out places, got some photos, went to that beignet shop. I'd been there before, and I think actually I liked them better this time. I don't know, maybe we're a fresher batch, but it's good to eat them right away. Although I only ate one right away, but the one I ate was really tasty. I saved the others for later, and they were okay, but yeah, you got to have them when they're freshly cooked. Another cool thing was the river boats out there. We kind of got those old Mississippi river boats, and that was a neat thing to see. Didn't go on one, but I guess, yeah, with the paddle wheel, those are pretty cool. I wouldn't mind checking out one of those. I don't know if I'd take a tour. It might get a little boring after a while, especially since the iconic thing is the boat, and you're on the boat, so you can't really see the boat when you're on it, if that makes sense. But something to, I don't know, think about for the future. At that point, went back to the parking garage, headed home, and Sunday night was, Sunday night football, so got to watch another football game, just hang out and chat, and was very tired very early, but a fun-filled, packed day.